Train by day, Kyle Wigington podcast by night, all day.
Is this thing on? This is a hot mic.
Chance McAdams.
Real hot mic.
Is that how you say it?
No S. McAdam is apparently how you're supposed to say it. Yeah, McAdam. Yeah.
Maybe I should turn it down a little bit. Talking to it again.
I'm talking a little close. I can pull back.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I'm familiar with the mics and things, but having first podcast.
Yeah, dude. Well, welcome to Another Bar podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Is it really McAdam?
Yeah, apparently it's
because the C is small and the A is big.
Yeah, so well, I actually look into it, and apparently, like a consonant means it's Mick. So McDonald's is how you say that, but if it's an A or an E, like I don't know, McAllister is apparently how I don't know. I looked it up once just because I was curious, but yeah.
That's someone was so you know the name Dougherty.
No,
Daughtry, Doughrty. So
Yeah.
I always said Daughtry, but I was corrected one night by a guy, and he's like, "No, it's actually Dougherty."
Dougherty.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, that sounds more Irish, I guess."
Dougherty. Sounds a little okay. It's Irish, so that's your last name.
No, my last name's Wigington, which is also a weird fucking name.
That is a funny name, Wigington.
Yeah,
sounds like a name of a wig store where there's I don't know, some type of wig fanatic. That guy's a Wigington. He's all on wigs. He can't stop.
I wonder where it did come from. I've never looked into it. I mean, I know it's like a English name or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably like from the town of Wigington. He was like the founder of Wigington.
The wig makers.
Yeah, there was like a wig making town. Mine's McAdams, was like son of Adam. It was like apparently it was McAdams, and there was an S, and then it like got lost somewhere at some point. I don't know, but yeah, I that's all I've got on my names on my. So I mean I don't know if you need more on my name. But.
No, dude, I like. When it comes to names, that's how we know who you are, right? Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't mean shit.
No, it doesn't. It literally doesn't. It can mean something, but it's a weird when you actually pull back and you think about as an identifier, because people always call me Chase. Like I get Chase McAdams is like the you know, and I'm like whatever. Like I don't, you know, if it's a crowded room and I don't have time and I don't care, you know, whatever. But when I was in middle school, you better think different.
Oh, yeah?
I was like, it's Chance McAdam, you know?
Get it right, motherfucker.
Actually, I had it wrong back then. I didn't even know it was McAdam. I thought it was McAdam. But yeah, I wanted to be known.
So when it comes to the name thing, right, we've established that doesn't matter. So
No.
What do you fall in line with the pronoun shit then?
Oh, geez.
Touchy subject.
I mean, honestly, it's one of those things where as a 30-year-old, you know, I think a lot of this stuff started to come into the forefront, and a lot of the younger generation took onto it faster, which is natural. I mean, but for me, I mean, you know, I'll call you whatever you want. I'm not like, I don't really care. I think the they, them gets a little bit difficult, like just to say, like, I'm like, they, I mean, but in a certain circumstance, it's, you know, oh, they are doing something that's fine. But when it becomes, I haven't even done it enough. I don't know enough people who go by they, them to have practiced enough, but I've done my best to be as politically correct as possible.
It's hard, man. This bar, right? It like there are a lot of people that come here that like to use those terminologies. So one day I'm having a conversation with someone, it's just me and this person in here, and they start talking about their significant other, and they were referring to the significant other as they, and I was like, wait, there are more?
That's exactly what. Yeah. Are you talking about Claire Kelly? Was that?
No, it wasn't Claire.
Okay.
No,
We were talking.
Does Claire talk about this?
Her significant other is they, them identifier as well. And I was talking to her about it, and she said they, and I was like, so exactly what you did? Multiple?
Yeah.
And
multiple people?
No, it's one of those tricky ones. I understand the she, like I've been in a situation where, you know, it's somebody who identifies as a she that I might not have previously noticed or thought about. And then they say she, and I'm like, and then I'm on to it. It's fine. But when it's they, I'm like, all right.
My thing is, if you look like that, then I'll call you that. Like, if I can't notice it though, then like, don't get mad at me.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. You can't really, once they correct you, then all right. But if it's the first time, and I mean, most of the people who go by that are totally cool with that. But occasionally you'll get one who's prickly and you're like, dude, ma'am, I don't know what to do here. I'm just I try and avoid conflict at all costs. It's not worth it. Nothing. It's never worth it for me. I'm not interested in any type of fighting whatsoever. Verbal, non-communicative, physical, any of it. I'm like water, baby. Like, let's just chill. I don't care.
I agree with you, dude. I was here one night. There was a female comedian that was outside, and she was getting very rough with some of the other people. Mm-hmm. And I thought the female was a guy. Mm-hmm. And luckily AJ was here, because I was like, yo, what's homie's problem? Mm-hmm. And AJ was like, oh, bro, don't say that out loud.
Yeah.
He's like, that's
I know what you're talking. I know exactly what
you probably
saying.
Know the comedian I'm talking about too.
No, I had the same mistake, but that's funny. What do you identify? What did you just he him?
No, I identify as God.
God?
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, if you can say,
Almighty.
Why not? If you can choose, why would you choose to be a he, him, or a they? Why not just choose God?
I am of God.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Call
Almighty.
Me the divine.
Yes, indeedy.
But they don't have my pronouns online. I go by Deva.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Deva?
Deva, yeah. They don't have my pronouns on there. I sign all my receipts as God.
God.
And the banks never come back on me either.
I had a buddy who he went on a flight, and they give you the option to name yourself whatever, and so he was CEO for that flight, even though he was in coach. CEO today, baby. He sent it to me. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, if we're gonna make a world that's this absurd, then you might as well be absurd with it.
I mean, there's so many people that have gone by doctor that aren't Doctor. It's P Diddy now, but at the time it was Dr. Diddy. Was it? And then
we have Dr. Dre.
Dr.
P
Dre,
Diddy a doctor too?
Yeah. They did a good joke on Family Guy about that, and it was like, it's like, Peter would be like, he's like, oh, just like when I went to the doctor, and he like goes to the doctor, and it's P Diddy, and he's like, oh, what do I do about my teeth? Or what do I do about my teeth? And he's like, actually, Chris, I'm an optometrist. And it's, I don't know. They're making fun of it, but yeah.
No, you do good impressions. AJ was actually saying you did a really good Biden.
Oh yeah. Biden's the one that just came like no problem. Like I was listening to the debates, and my favorite thing that he said was, he was like, my son had a drug problem, but he fixed it. And I love that, because I know people in AA, I know the whole spiel, and like, that's the most politician brush over ever. 'Cause anybody who's AA knows, you always have the problem. That's the whole point, is that you are sick. Yeah, that's the whole thing. So him just being like, oh, you had a drug problem, he fixed it. It's like, no, he never fixed it. He doesn't get fixed. And we all know by everything that came out with the freaking, on the emails or whatever, that he was far from a good. He just wanted to show the world how messed up he was, practically. But that was funny. Yeah. But yeah, Biden, that's the one that came easy, but I had to work for Trump. Trump was the one where like I had to really draw back, and like I was doing the same thing that like everybody was doing, with like with the problems and the things, and then I heard James Austin Johnson do it, and then I really worked on it. That was the actual first impression where I worked on it really hard and broke through. And the thing was the guttural thing. So every time you start, you gotta get back here and pull in, because you never know where it's gonna go. You never know what and when you're switching things, and then you gotta calm down. And even the mannerisms, you have the mannerisms down too, dude. Yeah, it's a fun one. I have more fun doing him than anybody, just because he's so ridiculous, and he can, I just, with the mannerisms, what I realize is that he looks like he's having sexual intercourse when he's doing it. I was like, because he looks like he's mad.
He's always fucking the world.
Yeah,
dude.
no one. I don't know anyone else who does this as much. And I'm like,
I've never seen anyone do this. If I'm being quite honest, just with like in conversation.
Yeah. And then and then what else does he do? He's just this, and then I don't know. The way he grabs water is funny. Like he'll grab it. Have you seen?
I saw him
like
the drinking thing one time. He was like drinking like.
Yeah.
What was that about?
It's like the James Austin Johnson said he's a lot like Jacques Tati, which is like a French old, but he's very like light on his, and it made sense that he kind of doesn't. Biden wants to move. He's trying to run he's biking and fall, but like running up the stairs, whatever. And then Trump's like, everything has to be exact, and he needs it to be, don't touch him. It looks like he doesn't want to be touched.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah. It's interesting going in on the.
Was that what you do when you go to like one of these new people that you're trying to make an impression of? You basically watch, like, just study their mannerisms and stuff, or like, how do you? Well,
I've been studying the impressions, like the impressionists, the way they've been doing it, because what happens is, I didn't know about this until I started listening to like Dana Carvey and James Austin Johnson. Was like, sometimes the impressionist cracks it for everybody else. So once one guy gets it, then they all can do it. Like my George Bush for the longest time was just Will Ferrell doing George Bush. It was like, we've been having a problem with strategery, it's like I'm gonna drop into that one, but I actually met George Bush a couple times, and he was really interesting. He actually shit talked, like, not really, but he kind of shit talked Bill Clinton because he was doing tours with them at the time, and it was after his presidency, and he was like, quite frankly, the guy kind of bugs me, and he gets there late, and that's just, I don't like the way he does that. That's not the way I roll. And I was like mind blown. I couldn't believe that he was like trash, kind of like just saying, but Bill Clinton's another fun one too. If we're going off the impression tangent, he was like, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Like, so
I met Bill Clinton a couple times.
Really? Oh yeah. Cause Arkansas, from Arkansas. Yeah.
Dude, the level of charisma this guy has is insane.
Did you feel like he was coming on to you?
I felt like I wanted to drop down and blow him. Like and it was nothing he did. It was just like, this man, he exudes charisma somehow.
Yeah. That's what I've heard. That they all, like the guy Daryl Hammond, the impressionist who did him. He was like, I met him once, and I was talking to him, and I swear to God, I wanted to, I thought he wanted to have an orgy with me and my wife.
Dude, like, I honestly thought the same thing. I was like, why is my head going?
Mr. Clinton, I thought we
but I feel like maybe you have to like be that guy. How tall is George Bush, by the way? That's another really crazy thing, is all these guys are fucking huge.
No, George Bush was not that tall.
He was tiny?
He wasn't tiny. He was just like 5'10", 5'9", maybe. 5'9" sounds short, but I don't know. I'm not as tall as I was. I was 16 when I met him, like, and actually had time to like think about that. But yeah, he was shorter, but yeah, no, Bill Clinton, tall
guy.
But I've heard
Trump tall.
Yeah. 6'4",
I think 6'4". That's what he says.
No, it's not. There's no way. He's like 6'2", 6'3".
He may be.
With the shoes, he probably, I don't know. But Obama's definitely.
How tall is he?
I don't know. Tall.
Let's consult the Google real quick.
Yes. Yeah.
We need a young Jamie here.
Oh, yeah. Jamie, pull that up.
Yeah, Jamie.
Oh, wait. There's no one there.
We had to get 6'3" Trump.
Yeah.
6 foot Biden.
6'3".
6'7", Barron Trump. What the
Barron
fuck?
Trump.
That's obviously wrong. 6'2".
Wait, Biden's what's 6 foot?
That's what it says.
Yeah, he's probably shrunk since then, but
Barack Obama 6'2".
yeah, this is some tall guys. It's what is the
Is there a height requirement for leaders?
well, I learned about it in social studies or whatever. You know, they have like the angelic effect. If you're attractive, people think you're better. It must be the same with leadership. They think if you're taller and more physical, you're more dominating and able to.
That's the only reason I work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To lead.
Yeah, to lead.
To make sure that the minions here at another bar listen to you.
To make sure my sea of people that are out here watching me right now.
Yeah. Listen to me. I have lifted 50 pounds above my head 30 times in a row. Yeah, I recently started working out more and more to where I'm actually getting like bigger. And yeah, I'm like
that's how you know you're actually big, is when you wear big shirts. Like when you wear tight shirts like this, you're not really that big.
Yeah. Well, I actually have to wear longer shirts for the comedy because if you're too big, they don't, they're like, this guy's this, but I've been small my whole life, like skinny fat is actually the proper term. I think that I've heard. It's like I didn't care about it. I played it cool, but then as I got older, I'm like, I wish I would have worked out earlier because I could have been more strong and like done football and like cool things, but I was still kind of just like, I don't know. It wasn't me. I don't know. I was anyway.
Well, no, I was a stick in high school. They got me on a weight program in college. I played basketball. And I started working out then, and I just kind of fell in love with it. It wasn't about the muscles or anything. Like it's a good byproduct of working out, but at the same time, it does something up here.
Oh yeah.
Like this is when I started working out, and this is when I fell in love with it, because I was like, every morning whenever I wake up, I go directly to the gym and I get my 30-minute workout in, and then my day is smooth.
Yes. Yeah, I was the same boat. Like for the longest time, I was working out. I wasn't doing it for but it was just mentally, I needed it. Because if I'm off, if I'm not doing that, if I'm not eating well, like I'm off. I'm real off.
And do you think it has something to do with why you went into the arts? Because I find that a lot of people that are in the arts, like they need that activity.
Yeah, I think that people that go into the arts, I think they have a scratch to itch. They think that they have something that is, I don't know. For me, it's just, I get bored with the way that things are. And I love to see somebody show me something that I haven't seen before, whether it's, visual, audio, sound, like a song, whether it's like interior design or whatever it is, just something that I haven't seen before. Cause I just feel I grew up as, in Dallas, Texas, and there's a lot of squares and nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of people that are doing
Land
well.
of the fake millionaires, right? Isn't that what they call them?
There's a lot of that for sure, but there's also a lot of real millionaires, and there's a lot of people who are just, they just are into the whole thing. They're into the corporate, whether it's
rat race.
Yeah, the rat race. And so but more than that, it's just, it breeds, there's just people in the box. They don't think like that. That was my whole upbringing. It practically was just being like knocking on people's head going like, are you serious? Like you're not going to acknowledge that there's more going on here, that they're like, that you have feelings, or that, that's how I felt. It was just, there's more to this, and people they don't know how to approach any sort of, arts or like even just weird. I don't know. People are reserved, conservative. I think there's some of that for sure. I think there's a lot of like, I don't know. It's weird. Like, did you find that at all in your upbringing or? Oh
yeah. Being from Arkansas, like when I go back home now, I'm such a different person than the people that live there that I can't even communicate with them.
Yeah.
And I, back in the day when I was growing up, I was doing the same thing. I was constantly questioning my reality, questioning the things that I was being taught, a huge one was religion for us. Cause like, everyone there is religious and they all believe this God and the story of the Bible. And from even like 7 or 8 years old, I was questioning this and people were like, well, you just got to believe. And like, I don't just believe anything.
No,
I want to understand things. So, I mean, yeah, I didn't relate to them at all. I was a total outcast when I was growing up. And the best thing for me to ever do was to break out of that box and move away from that area.
Yeah.
And that's why I love hanging out with comedians, because comedians are so far outside of the box that it's just, I have some of the best conversations with them. Like I've been doing this podcast now for, I guess, a year or something like that. And the best conversations that I've had have been with comedians because they just think differently. It's almost like they're real humans and everyone else is an NPC. That's kind of how I feel about this world now. I've had conversations with people all across the board and some of them are just like pulling teeth.
Yeah. Well, you talk to musicians, or they
musicians too.
They can be tough because they feel with their music.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of hard to break through because but sometimes they're almost more chilled out because they're getting like a different therapy through it. So they're calmer sometimes and they don't need to like get into it. Whereas comedians, it's like sometimes we don't have the music. So we're like, we got to go into it and talk about it and figure it out. And I don't know. That's one thing I was thinking about randomly, just because, you meet I do believe that music is kind of like this ultimate art form in a way. Like there's something about it that I don't think it's, I mean, there's all sorts of great things, but I think that music in particular is an interesting one because it's so innate and abstract, yet it's, everybody understands it. Everybody hears it. They know when something feels good, or I don't know. It's similar, I guess. I don't know. This is kind of a debate I've had in my head about the difference between comedy and music because they're so close, but they're very different in a way that I have yet to really understand. But I wanted to say about religion and I agree with that. I had a very similar experience where I, at a young, in early high school, I mean, I always was like, what's going on? What are we talking about? But some of the lessons and the people were always wonderful. Like the one thing I noticed was like, not everybody was wonderful, but a lot of people, you look in them in the eyes and like, they just had something. They felt like they were clear of something. They weren't struggling with some sort of thing that I seem to be struggling with. Right. But in high school, I said, I'm going to take some time off from this religion. I went to boarding school in California, and I was very much like, I'm not going to just go on board with this Christianity thing just because my parents are. And I don't, I want to explore and I want to come to it myself if that's what it is. And I mean,
no, you're right. Those people that do believe in God, like it's almost like they have a weight lifted off their shoulders. Yeah. Like they know that something is protecting them. Yes. Even if like I can't see what it is that they're seeing, like I get it. Like they're in bliss because they know that something has their back. There's two types. I think there's two types. There's one type where they look like they're in a cult and you're like, you're crazy. That you're high right now on listening to soft Christian podcast rock. With one of those guys. Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, you just take what you can from them. Some of it is, dude, it was a nightmare of a podcast because all he would do is quote Bible verses. Oh, he was like trying to convert you. Yeah. So I'm having this type of dialogue conversation and he's quoting Bible verses back at me. And like, what do you say to that? I mean, you take them for, you just, I don't know. I have a hard time. I'm not one of my good friends though. I love him to death. Yeah. I'm not going to I can't bash it. Like I still have that thing of like, well, they're trying, like, they're, I don't blame them, they're finding their way or wherever. But for me, I quote the Bible, but I always find that that's from my grandmother and my mom. They always, there's certain ones that my mom quoted that always like pride cometh before the fall. But a lot of them they're just sound logic in and of themselves. They're not, exactly. It's not about, No, that's a good quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good logical quote. Like if you take that and apply that to your life, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's helped me a lot for sure.
But I feel like you can't live by every single word that a doctrine has.
No,
that's what gets me.
No, I agree. I think I mean, it's weird because you'll listen to some pastors and they say, you know, everything, you know, they do. They're like, God. And they're like, everything that this Bible says is right. And everything that is in here is perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And you're like, okay, I guess it is because of the way he's talking. But then you kind of think about it like, well, actually, there's some pretty interesting things that have happened in there. And one of the greatest people to listen to, if you're ever questioning anything, which I encourage all Christians to do, is listen to Christopher Hitchens. Because if you can withstand the power of Christopher Hitchens' logic, then that's a believer.
Was he a pastor or what does he do?
No, he was a English journalist, and he was brilliant, and he had a very commanding voice. I wish I could do him. He was so good, but he was so witty, so funny, and just he would be like, well, you know, it's piffle, you know, this is rubbish, you know, it's just talking about all religion. He was a you know, an atheist, I guess. I don't know if I don't understand. I think agnostic. I don't know, but I always get in he was great, but he was, for me, it was just important because you've got to be able to, you know, you got to take it for like, it's like comedy. You have to be able to look on it on both sides. You can't stick with one side.
That's what's helped me out in the whole religious argument in my life is not only just taking what I was taught at a young age, but also looking at all the other religions around the earth and seeing that there's similarities in all these things.
Yeah.
So they're all pretty much saying the same thing. We need to feel like we're part of this team. And I was taught to be part of this team. So now this is my team. And it's like, no, they're all saying the same fucking thing. Like the only team you should be a part of is Earthling.
A lot of me agrees with that 100%. I think that the one way I described it a while like was that it's ascribing to a religion and believing in a religion is like it's like a supercharge or for survival, like because they give you all of these rules that help your species, like your sect of the species, to live longer. Like there's tons of rules about like that, like, you know, what is it? Be fruitful and multiply. And then they have also, I mean, you know, all sorts of ways that they are creating. You can see it from like a biological perspective that this is the life force itself talking through this book, these teachings to help you to live your life better. Cause that, right. I mean, that's what it is. But I think that people fail to see like some of these things are simply put together because you want to survive so bad that you're going to ascribe to something that helps you survive better. That I haven't,
you know, a really crazy one that I stumbled across that I actually find fascinating is Scientology.
That is a fascinating one.
Okay. And the reason I find it fascinating is because if you actually dive into Scientology and start looking at the programs they have, dude, they're fucking amazing. Like they have these programs that teach people how to start businesses, how to like run businesses. It's like, if you want to do something like that, you can go to these, not even classes, they're like online YouTube videos. So you don't even have to be in the religion, but they teach you like everything you need to know rather than having to go to like school and learn this shit.
Yeah. I didn't know about that.
No one does. It's bad. Like the only reason I learned about it because I'm interested in learning these things. So what happened is one of my buddies is a Scientologist out in California, and he calls me one day and we're having this conversation about it. And like the conversation goes on for like an hour and a half. And he's like, I'm going to have one of my people call you. Okay. So they call me and I just have this like amazing conversation with this person who's like one of the top, you know, upper echelons of Scientology. And they were telling me about all these videos that were online. So I went and checked them all out. And then they wanted me to be a member. And I was like, I'm not gonna be a member of your organization, but I think what you're doing is fascinating. Like some of the stuff that you guys are doing is incredible.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things like that, like that you can just take out of any religion, like prayer itself it's one of those things that all the religions do it, but they've proven with, brain scans and, that it helps. It helps tremendously.
Do you still pray?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I pray a lot. I pray a lot.
So I'd meditate, which is basically the same thing as prayer in my opinion.
Yeah. I find meditation, I love both.
What do you find different about those two?
Well, prayer, I think, is more affirming in some ways, that you're verbally making your way to God, to what it is, versus meditation is almost like you're being receptive to God and or whatever God is, and getting in touch with the present in a way that both are special. I do find that meditation is when it seems to be more powerful on some level, because of the silence. And if you can really get there to that presence, that present moment, it has such an effect on the rest of your day that but prayer, same thing. Prayer, if you're working on something or you have something that you want to talk about to God with, or, to yourself or whatever, just to remind yourself, like a lot of it is me reminding myself, okay, like, all right, you do what you need to do. Like I'm here. Like it's like some people, I don't know, there was a book called Psychoanalysis and Religion by, it was recommended to me by my psychiatrist. It was by Edward, I don't know, but he basically says that there's two different ways that people see God. It's like as your buddy, or as your, like, it's the Almighty, like as a teacher, as somebody better than. And I think I definitely tend to go with the both, but I would say that I don't know. It's interesting to try and to have that reverence, like for God, is really, I find, one of the harder things for me sometimes, because of all the questioning that we've done. You have a hard time going, okay, like I have no control. I have no, this is all right. Whatever you're going to do, I'm here. Let's go for it. But when you question a lot, and when you have a headstrong, resolute dedication to finding the truth no matter what, the idea of going, well, so we'll see what happens is really hard, because you want to have control. You want to go, I am going to be, for me, it's like being great. It's comedy. It's whatever, but it's being, pushing harder, and how much of that can you control, and how much of it is just
because if it's in his hands, and like why even like push harder?
I mean,
that's what my take with all this stuff is. Like, if like I see the people back home that still believe, and they believe heavy, and they live great lives. They have amazing lives. They're comfortable with their lives and their decisions, but they're not pushing to do something outside of the box and outrageous. Yeah. Like for me, I've lived my life like by the seat of my pants, just fucking rolling the dice every chance I get. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? I did have a really nice job working IT. Fuck it. I'm quitting. I'm rolling the dice. I'm going to go do something else.
So much more interesting. Yeah. That's one of the great things about doing acting or I met a couple people like that, where they're just like, I just couldn't do it. It was grinding on my soul. I could not do it. And they just like, it's funny. Like, was there any like psychedelic experience that took you? Or
so this is like, what's crazy. Go. So I didn't take psychedelics until I was 30, I think 31 or 32. So at the ripe old age of 24, whenever I finally quit my IT job, 25 or something like that. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to move and go be an actor. I'm going to go into the film industry. That was just cause I was so depressed. Like I was so depressed, and I was like, I know that this isn't what I need to be doing. I don't know what I do need to be doing, but if I do this for the next 50 years of my life, I'm going to end up putting a gun to my head, blowing my brains out. Yeah. So then I just quit my job, and everyone was like, you're a fucking idiot. What are you doing? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. And then I left, went to California, was there for maybe like 2 weeks. And I was like, I sobered up and I was like, what am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I got to go back to Arkansas, but I don't want to go back to where I'm from. I need to like take a step.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I instead of moving back to Northeast Arkansas, I moved to Little Rock, Arkansas, which is the capital.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed down there and started working in a restaurant. And then I got lucky and got a modeling gig down there with Dillard's Clothing Company.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of led into everything else that's been my life. It's gave me like a path.
Wow. So that's amazing. So those 2 weeks, did you go to LA?
Yeah, I drove from Arkansas, packed all my shit in my car.
And then you drove back?
Drove all the way to LA. I went straight through the first time. It was 23 or 20 something hours.
Yeah.
Just drove straight through.
Yeah.
And then I got there and I slept in a hotel for like 2 days.
Yeah.
And finally like got my bearings. And I was like, what am I doing? I don't know anybody out here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So then I stay out there for about another week. And I was like, you know what? I got to go back. I put my fucking head between my legs and drove back to Arkansas. But on the way back, I didn't just drive straight through. What I did was I stopped and saw everything because I went down 40, right? 40 goes directly from Arkansas to California. So I drove back on 40 and I stopped and saw all these amazing things. One of the coolest ones I saw was this meteor crater in, I think it's Mexico. I think it's where it's at, in New Mexico or maybe Arizona, one or the other. This is massive meteor crater, right? And up until that point, like I'm a human living on this planet, right? Like I think that this is my world right here. But then I get out and I walk up to the edge of that meteor crater and it's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Like for some reason, there's no one else there. And I'm standing on the edge of this meteor crater and I sit down and I'm eating like a banana or something. And I'm looking across this meteor crater and I have this like scale out view because this thing is so big, you can't see the bottom of it without using binoculars. Like they have a human standing at the bottom of this. And I was like, this is how small I am. Mm-hmm. Like I'm this little speck on this planet. And I was like, I don't have a clue, but I know that I'm not anything anymore. And I know that since I'm not anything, I'm going to go. Mm-hmm. And I just started running in a direction and I've been going there ever since. And like, anytime that I find something new that I want to do, like a podcast, like you don't see anybody else here. It's just me here. Like you don't need a ton of people to do something great.
No.
All you need to do is you need to start moving in a direction and people will follow you if you start moving in a correct way.
I agree with that wholeheartedly, unless you're batshit insane.
I am that. I am. No.
I'm kidding. But but even people will still follow you. People will still follow you.
People say that I might have a cult one day.
No, you're too. You've seen too many good things. That's just, I don't know. That I always just think it's funny. Like it's not. I just remember my buddy and I in college, and I joke about having a cult too sometimes, and I just looked at him and I was like, it's not hard to find followers. Like it's not. That's what's crazy is if you do have conviction, if you believe, if you wholeheartedly go for something, even the question is do they really believe it? That's manipulation after that point. That's when it gets real dark.
Like the stuff that I'm talking about followers is, I mean, like you guys, like we hang out, I hang out with other artists and I want to like do other art things with other artists. So, I mean, it does, even in those situations, it takes someone to go, okay, we're all going to move this direction.
Yes.
Let's go. It's kind of like with the podcast thing. Like, we didn't start, I started this podcast and then I was like, Pickle, you're doing the open mic here. I was like, let's start a podcast. So we started Pickle's House. Mm-hmm. And then Pickle's House led into what it is now with them out in the studio doing that thing. So it's almost like we're all moving in a direction together now.
Yes. Yeah. You're helping each other. You're collaborating. You're pushing forward. That's what I love about, I was actually, reading this, it's like a book by a pastor. It's really good. Utmost for his highest. It's like written in like 1890 and it has a page for every day, but it was just saying like, if you take the initiative, if you take that leap of faith, then God will help you. That has been my experience for sure, was that, and I always have to remind myself this sometimes, when I'm feeling nervous to go on stage I have to remind myself, okay, that's good. If you're afraid, that's good. That means that you're about to do something that you're pushing towards it. I don't know why it's that way. I don't know why we're afraid to do the thing that we actually want to do, but that taking initiative, that's what I love about that, is that you go from not knowing anything. And then you do it and you're like, oh my gosh, why did I even question it? And yeah, I love that.
That was me with acting. The first time I went to an audition, I was fucking terrified. Dude, I was like up there shaking and everything. Worst audition I've ever had in my life, understandably, because I was terrified.
But you didn't know anything.
Yeah, but after it was over, I was like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do another one.
There you go. Yeah. Did you do an acting class before that? Were you like in theater?
I took one acting class my senior year of college because I had a credit that I needed to have. So it was like beginning acting for non-majors. And everyone in there was like just garbage.
I did a similar class.
Yeah. I had such a blast in the class though, because it let me, it just showed me that I could do it. And our instructor was fucking amazing, dude. Like this is Molly Sims, up in Arkansas, Northeast Arkansas, freaking an amazing actress. Like there was a few times in class where she broke out. She was like, she's like, you guys are just not getting it. She's like, this is acting. And she just fucking went into a rage and we were all just like fucking scared, shaking in our pants. Like she was so good. And I was like, that's what I want. I want that. So I've done some roles since then where it let me like extend myself out to those like levels of emotion. And it's so fun to go into a rage like that, but then to calm yourself back down. I think that's another thing that meditation's helped me with is my emotional control. Because I think acting is a lot about emotional control.
100%.
Yeah. So if you don't have that emotional control, you can't, be in a rage in 1 minute. And then when they yell cut, come back down and then do that again. It
blows my mind, that cutoff, because it's people don't understand how much it takes. I mean, sometimes you can't you got to take some time to calm down though. Because if you're so hot, I mean, they'll come over to you with a towel. Like, you're like, no, get off, whatever. But like, that's real. It's so real. But I've had the opposite thing where I'm crying, I'm on the ground, I'm freaking out, I'm fake blood. And then, all right, cut. And then you're like, all right, great. Let's move on to the next one. Yeah, that's funny. I had, it sounds like though that the teacher, was she a little bit, she was good, but was she like, a little, I don't know. I've had some interesting experience with acting teachers over the years, and I find that they love to listen to themselves and they do and then they like to show you what acting is, and then they pull off, and then you're like, oh, the class is like, oh my God.
So Molly wasn't that way. I know the type you're talking about though. Yeah, but no, Molly wasn't that way. Molly is incredible, dude. Like whenever I think about her, I'm like, why did she never make it? Like if this woman couldn't make it, like what makes me think that I can? That makes me question myself, because she was so good. And I mean, she directs like theatrical plays at the school and stuff that she teaches at. So I mean, maybe in her mind, that is her making it. In my mind, I think I just have a different definition of what making it actually is.
Yeah. I think some people I meet and I'm like, you're like, I had a teacher. She was like a guru. She was one of the most interesting people I've ever met. And her name is Shelly Mitchell. She's still teaching. She's like 70 years old. And I met her. She was working with like Shia LaBeouf in LA and these other really good actors. And I was, when you read enough about acting and you learn about Stanislavski and Meisner and Stella Adler and all these names, you realize that there's a lot of these, and you track some of these actors. You go, okay, they all went to Strasbourg, or they all went to wherever, and you go, well, that guy knew how to break actors. That guy knew he was like the guru. And so I was like eventually, because I realized this was like just some teachers just don't have it. They don't have the ability to reach your core and realize who you are, what you're able to do, and how to push you or encourage you or whatever you need. It's a difficult thing to do, but some teachers like her had that ability to just capture you and push you forward and know where you were. And she was insane. But I was going to say where was I going with that? She just knew how to push you in a way that I've never It's like like a guru. I can't, she like had voodoo. She was really interesting. I mean, of course I'm not a good person to vouch for her. Maybe in the future I won't.
You will be. Yeah.
But,
don't even say that about yourself. But no, do you find the same way with directors though? Because I feel like certain directors, they kind of have the same thing where they just know what to say to make you have the correct emotion.
Yeah. It's incredible, the on the spot stuff that you can do, or that directors can do, that they're just working with what they've got in the moment. But for some reason, they know exactly what to say to you, and they don't even know what they're saying. But sometimes they do, obviously, but other times they just, I remember hearing a story about one of the actors that work with Christopher Nolan on Batman, and he was the guy who says, he's like, all right, enough from the clown, like that guy. And he was great. But he was talking about how he went up to Christopher Nolan and he was asking him questions, and he was and saying, all of these things like, well, should I, if he's coming at me like this, should I, be like this, or how should I emotionally and whatever. And Christopher Nolan would just say, I never thought about it like that, and I don't know, we'll see. And, and that I was like, okay, it sounds like he said this before, but it's interesting to hear straight from, the mouth of a genius telling the actor, well, I don't even know. I didn't think about it. Look, he's thought about it. You can't not. He's a genius. He thought about everything. He's doing it so that the actor can discover it himself.
Right.
And that he doesn't feel like his claws, his directing claws on him. Cause I mean, you got to be more intimidated if you're not intimidated by Christopher Nolan, then
he's a genius. Yeah. My favorite director by far.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that a lot of times the directors that I've worked with, that I've had the best relationship with, they've, just their ability to stay calm has kept me calm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's probably what Chris Nolan was doing right there, is he was like, you know what? He was letting the actor play, but he was also being calm in the moment. Like, I'm not going to give you anything, but we're going to maintain calm. We're going to have fun.
Yeah. One of my breakthrough moments in acting was I did, it was the play. It was by Neil Simon. It's with, Jack Lemmon and I forget the name, but anyway, it's an old school classic, comedic scene, and it was on Broadway. It was a great play. Can't remember the name of it, but this director at the time, he was pushing me to be, comedic in a way that I hadn't been, and it was so nice to have that trust with him in that moment of like, I'm just going to keep going. And people were laughing so hard. And I was like, this is what I can do. I need, this, more of this, whatever that is. But that trust is so important, to be able to have somebody that you can go, I can do anything in this moment. And I know that you're going to steer me in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the next films that I'm working on, it's with Jared Beck, shouts out Jared Beck, but he's someone that I worked on whenever he was in his doing his student film stuff. And we just kind of stayed in contact ever since then. And he's been growing. I've been growing. But one of the films we worked on, I was playing an evil king who had been taken over, and had veins and stuff on my face. Yeah, I can see. I had this bone skull that I had on. And in some of the scenes, I was like, dude, I know I need to be in rage mode here. I was like, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 150 right off the bat. And I was like, I want you to pull me down if it's too much, because I would much rather have you pull me back than to try to push me forward. And so that's what I did. I gave him everything that I had right off the bat, and he would be like, take it down a notch, or he would be like, that's perfect. I mean, it worked. That method right there worked great for us. That's why he and I work so well together. We've done several films since then.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Have you ever directed anything?
Yeah, I've only directed things that I've produced and been in, sketches. And it was thrilling. It was really fun. It worked out particularly well on one, but the others, I would say that it was very difficult. It's a lot of things because, we were doing small productions and but we were trying to do it professional. So we had, we casted it and I wrote it. We did 6 sketches in a week. And so it was a lot. And,
when you're directing something, dude, it's just questions coming at you the entire time.
Oh yeah.
And especially if you're trying to act and stuff in it too, that's like another level.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a lot. But it was thrilling. It was awesome. It was once I needed to work on my, like the way that I saw, I just didn't have the visual thing yet. The reason that the last one, the one that worked best, was a success, I think, was because it was gritty and it was handheld, and I didn't need to tell them what to do. They kind of knew what to do, and it was great. But when I was directing the, photography kind of in terms of shots and what we're going to do here and there, like I did not know really what to do. I did know, but I didn't at all. And so I went and got my master, or tried to get my master's, and then I just crapped out. I might go back, but I'm not technically. Film? Yeah. In film. I did my minor my undergrad in film.
Oh,
as
awesome.
Well. Yeah. But I know about it from a rudimentary, more than most people, but there's a lot going on.
There is. Yeah.
It's a lot going on. And then to do that along with having to emotionally be in something, and then you have to just have such a command over the material. You have to know exactly what you want in a way that is, I don't know, like God.
Yeah. I mean, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I saw, I've done some directing. And I think the more you do that, the better you get at it.
Mm-hmm.
And even with like the shots and stuff like that, the more you do it, the better you get at it. The thing that helped me the most, was we started a web series right when we moved to New Orleans. And in this web series, it was called Collaborative Stories. So what we would do is we would go to our like audience on Facebook, and we would say, okay, we filmed the opening scene, which is like a dude and another guy walk into a room. And we're like, okay, now we go to the audience. What happens next? And we let them build the story out. Then we go and we film the next scene. Then we go back and say, okay, what happens next? So that helped
like
me.
Improv almost. Yeah.
Kind of like that. Yeah. So that helped me so much, because it not only taught me like how to edit, write, and it taught me After Effects like crazy. And I'm so good at After Effects because it quickly got out of hand, where they were like, okay, this person jumps through a portal and he goes back in time and he sees the clones of this other guy. Wow. Now think about me, like just picking up Premiere Pro for the first time going, what? Like I have to make clones and I have to make portals.
I genuinely know how difficult that would be.
Yeah. But it taught me so much. And I think I lasted about 6 months on that. And we got through 8 episodes, maybe not even 6 months, but I've been less than that, maybe like 6 weeks. Like it was a really quick learning experience, but I like almost had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way I can keep up with this.
Yeah.
Cause it was just me and my roommate. My roommate was producing stuff. Like he was getting actors and like handling that side. I'm handling all the editing, the writing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just learning all that stuff all at once, but it was a good crash course.
Yeah. That sounds like a really good crash course. That doesn't get much better. Yeah. I edited a lot of my stuff too. And like, yeah, you write it, which is hard in and of itself. And then you have to put the production together, which is really, really, so many moving parts. And then you're done. You're tired. You're done with the idea. Like I know this, it's not even funny to me anymore at all. And then when you're in the moment filming it, it can be great. But then you're like, oh, now I have to edit it.
Now I have to
through
footage.
It just doesn't stop. It's so mind numbing. Like, yeah, that's one of the reasons I petered out or ground out of the 3-year master's program, because I was writing a lot, and then I was editing and just trying to put stuff together. And it wasn't that much, but it was for like other people, but for me, it was just like I was trying to do too much, and I was just. But the program, it was good, but
I mean, you don't have to have a master's program to make movies.
No, that's another.
You just gotta have a nice team of people, dude.
Yeah.
And I think we have that here. If like we wanted to do something like that, we own all the equipment.
Well, if you need sketch ideas, I've got plenty.
That's what we were talking to AJ about when we left. Because I've been for Marcus Bond.
Yeah.
So I was pitching him the idea for a while because Marcus and I, we started this mic together. And I told him, I was like, dude, if you want to write some skits, we'll kind of go film them like a Dave Chappelle type situation because we have the equipment. We have all the talent around us. We might as well go do this.
Yeah.
But he never did really write scripts. So I was like, dude, if you want to write some skits, we'll do this. So AJ, I think, is going to go start writing some. If you should get with him.
Oh, yeah. I'm down.
Because we've been looking for something to work on.
Well, I have ideas. You can look, I mean...
Oh, you need to show me. You can just.
It's might as well because it's just so you can see.
Just a notepad of ideas.
Yeah, well, I've started this when I was
Jesus Christ, dude.
I started this when I was like 16. This is not all of it, but this is like. But yeah, I have like all sorts. I have a couple ideas for sketches. One of them.
Yeah, it looks like a couple.
Yeah, yeah.
A couple thousand.
Well, yeah. When I was 16, or 17, I don't know. I mentioned that I may be interested in comedy. I don't even know that I was interested in it at that time, now looking back, but I was enough to say something. And then my cousin's, her husband at the time, Alan, he was working on Rocket Power, and he's a smart, comedian, good, and he just said, first thing you gotta do is write everything down, write it down. And that's something I live by for sure. But the one that I really want to do is I want to do a tailgating my wife's pregnancy. Like,
okay.
I think because we were at this fox hunt, and it sounds ridiculous, but I was at this fox hunt in North Carolina with my sister on Thanksgiving because she rides horses, so she's into all the horse stuff. And
they really go kill foxes?
If they can find one, they will, but they don't really. I don't even know if they do because
Can they find me a baby fox? I would love to have a pet fox.
I mean, there's definitely some around.
Just tell them to kill the mother next time and take the babies and bring me one.
Yeah. I think you said you're God. I think you're God. Vishnu is that the god of? Oh, Shiva's the one of
Shiva. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's pretty cruel stuff. But I was there, and there was people. When we first started going to this thing, it was like 30 people, and they do it's called the Blessing of the Hounds. And before the hounds go out on the fox hunt, they have a priest or a pastor come and he blesses the hounds. And now there's tons of special forces because it's near Fort Bragg. And so there's tons of people moving in. And so it's went from 30 people in a field, to 1,000 people, and watching just this hunt go down in the morning and whatever. And people were tailgating. And I was like, people will tailgate anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, people would tailgate their own child being born. And I did, boom, there you go.
It's perfect for a skit. Yeah.
Oh, it's so all we need literally is a hospital room. And then we need a parking lot, like outside of a hospital. And
easy.
I don't know. We don't need to get the hospital room in the hospital, but
we can fake it. We'll show the outside of a hospital, then cut to a room that looks like a hospital. Yeah. It's literally two locations. You have the outside, and then, I think it would be funny to do it like a newscasting. So you're like, it's being presented as, you have a newscaster who's talking to these people. They think that like, they don't know what it is, what's going on. And then they're like, they slowly reveal that, oh, it's a birthday, or maybe we just reveal it. No, it's probably better to just reveal it and then go into the game. But you just pull up and there's just people just drunk, and you have like a couple guys, and then you have one guy. I think it would be funny to have a guy in there. And I think this would be played by Morgan D'Antone, who's filming her in pregnancy, and she's screaming and yelling, and he's filming it. And then the husband is down in the parking lot watching it on the thing, and they're like cheering him on, and dude, write it. We're gonna make this happen. Yeah. We could do it easy.
Yeah. Oh, it's so I just do it. Yeah, I gotta write it. I'll write it. I love the idea though. I had another idea for a sketch. It was it's like, there's two people, what do they call it? Like high school, or they're college football recruits, and they're standing in the bleachers looking at a game. They have like a camera, and they're watching and going, 62, he's got legs, or 75, yeah, he's a real beast and whatever, and oh wow, did you see that throw? Incredible. Yeah, put his name down, mark him down, whatever. And then for whatever reason, the band is practicing at the same time as them, so they're in the bleachers, and they start playing, and the guys are listening, whatever, and then there's like a flute player who's like really good, and so they're listening, and then they're like, one of the guys is like turns over and he's like, that flute player is incredible. We need to scalp him. We need him like on our band. And then they go and talk to him. And then the people, the football, this would be a more difficult production, because you need the whole football team and all that. But I think that the idea of just scouting for band mates or band people would be very funny.
Well, I mean, there are ways to get all these things done. Like I come from a very small town in Arkansas. So if we had to, we could just take a trip up there one time. We could get their football team and their band. Yeah. Super easy.
Yeah. I mean, they do.
They're like, I don't know anyone here, but I know back there, all we have to do is say, hey, like, come out here and be in a film.
It should be maybe a drummer or something. I don't know what the instrument. I automatically go to funny, because it's like an oboe or like a flute, or like, I don't know, but yeah, like, no, I would love that. That would be amazing. I just don't have the resource. I've got ideas, no resource, no major resource. It's
we have the equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of us will get paid off of it, but we get paid off the back end if it actually does make money. We'll create a YouTube channel and start making content, dude. That's what it's all about. It's all about just moving and shaking.
Well, I'm all ears. I'm all for people who actually get things done too. That's why I was very happy with you actually being like, yeah, I'm actually down to do a podcast. Because how many people you say something and then they go, no, I don't actually know, or that you don't hear from them. It's like, no, like just do it. Just do it.
What's even bad on the back end too? Like sometimes I'll ask people to come to the podcast, and they'll say yes, and I show up and I set all this stuff up, and they don't show up. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I come up here and I do all this stuff. And so sometimes whenever no one comes in and I'm just sitting here by myself, I just go off on a rant. I don't post those clips, but I get it all out.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's healthy. That's like Bill Burr's Monday morning podcast.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah. Tolpe does that. Joseph, he does his own podcast.
Who's that? I don't know who that is.
You should get him on. He's good. He's funny. You've definitely seen him probably
have. Yeah.
Here. He usually has a plaid like shirt, and he's like, you guys okay? You guys okay? All right. I'm like, are you guys okay? And then he'll go into this material about, being bi or whatever. But he always does that thing where he's like, are you guys okay? And he like to I don't know. It's good. It works. I mean, he's doing well.
Next time he's here, next Tuesday, I'll ask who he is. Yeah, I'll try to get him in. Because I didn't know you until the other night. I'm sure I've seen you here before. I just don't. There are like only certain people that I know, and I try to meet everyone that comes here, but sometimes people just slip under the radar. Like I didn't know Morgan until one night he came here, and he was just being a little prick. Like he's a prick. It's what he is.
Hilarious.
I love him to death, but he was being a prick, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
And I said something to him, and he's like, who the fuck are you? And I was like, what? I was like, okay, we got off on the wrong foot. Okay.
Yeah. He doesn't hold back.
And that's why I love him.
Yeah. Oh no, that's the best part is he'll shit talk people, and I love it. It's funny. If you had him on?
No, I tried to get him on. He won't come on.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
Ever since like we had that little tiff that night, I've been like, dude, come on the podcast. Let's talk about it. It's funny now. Like we're friends now. It's funny. And I was like, come on. He's like, no, I don't want to come on the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. He's probably, I don't know him well enough to know what his thought on it is, but yeah, I think it's intimidating to get on a podcast early on in your career. Cause like you don't want to do, I'm not using material here, but like, you start to think like, I could do all my impressions and whatever. And then you'd be like, oh, well, I already heard all of it. And then you're like, oh, well, but
there's so much you could do with those. You could tell jokes for the impressions, everything.
No. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah. That's the,
well, I had Brandon on, Brandon Bruffett.
Yeah.
He was on yesterday. And, we were talking about one of his jokes that he did, and he started telling it. And I was like, you don't have to blow your joke on here. Like, don't blow it on the podcast.
Yeah.
Because I do understand that too. But yeah, he has this one joke that just fucking lands, crushes every time. But yeah, I try to like keep the comedians away from that kind of stuff and just talk about, the world and religion and shit like that.
Yeah. Those things that everybody agrees on.
Right. Yeah. The important things that aren't really important at all, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think about the Ukraine bullshit? I mean, you said you're not for fighting, so I'm guessing that you're against that.
Well, I mean, it's...
And I'm not baiting you here.
No. I think, it's obviously not good for anybody. Nobody wants a World War III. Nobody wants anybody to go into anything, especially something that's, has such a heightened geopolitical, just aura. Everybody it's a hot topic. I mean, because nobody wants to see it go into anything, but, I don't think that there's one side that's, without fault. I don't think that,
I think 100% America is the problem.
I think it's, well, I don't know.
But it's not you and me. Okay. This is the thing. Anytime that I say the United States of America, I don't mean me and you.
Yeah.
What I mean are the fucking psychopaths that are up there, pushing the buttons and calling the shots.
Well, I think, if you look at what China's doing, if you look at what Russia's doing in regard to, microchips, and
they have psychopaths too. Trust me.
Yeah, no, I think Putin, he seems like a good guy. He seems like a really good guy. The war machine that is the United States is gnarly. I think that it's just a complex situation. I think that Putin's intelligent, and I think that he's playing Russia's hand as well as he can. Part of having a country and ensuring its survival is obviously territory accumulation, but part of us as our, being an adversary is to ensure that our enemies don't get more territory and more resources and things that they could use against us or become more powerful. I mean, at a certain level, it's just pragmatic, playing risk, that's all it is. It's not, they're not thinking about it in terms of we're going to defeat these people because we have to. It's like, no, this is the geopolitically intelligent thing to do. This is what we should do at this time. And the regard for life is minimal, unfortunately, but it's pawns in a grand scheme to them. I think that the recent comments that Zelensky made about China getting involved, and if China got involved, it would be, I think that was out of line. I don't think he should have said anything about that, even if he's thinking that it's not something that we should, even hint at, but it is a reality. It is a reality that China could take one side or the other. And, obviously they're going to take whoever's side they're not going to take the U.S.'s side, I wouldn't imagine, because but the people have speculated that they're going to take Taiwan, now because we're fighting and we're doing so many different things.
2 fronts. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be impossible for us to even handle.
Yeah. I love the war gaming where they're like, we've looked at it and we've had AI do it. And we, there's no scenario where we would win, where we would take Taiwan. And I'm like, yeah, they're kind of right next to it's right there. But we actually have a significant amount of bases around them.
Yeah, but dude, there's no way this ends well.
Oh, well, no, not if we keep going.
No, this is just the war in general to me is so fucking dumb. Like, we're intelligent creatures.
Yeah.
We shouldn't still be killing each other. And it's a simple fact that we have rules of war. That's another crazy aspect of it.
That's an ironic
rules of war. Like, what does that even fucking mean? This is a game.
Yeah, I think I do think I'd like to believe that we were past it. I think a lot of people feel that way. A lot of people are like, can we not do like, I love that, like the people on their phones, like, can we not do World War III? Like, like, yeah, sure. Whatever you say, because I can do something about it.
Right.
I think it's just,
that's the bad part about it is you can't do anything about it.
Well, this is what I believe, that I believe that things come to a head. I think that what happens is that there's so much built up tension. There's repression, and it's the same thing with life itself, with your own person. It's like you deciding to go out to LA, you know, for 2 weeks to explore something just in the very beginning. You had a grinding feeling. And actually, this is funny. I've thought about this with China. We're really priming them for war very well, because if I were in China and I was making, like we do Mardi Gras here, everything that we throw on that boat is made by China. That the whole production is China. At least everything we throw, all the stuff, it's all made in China. And to think that they're there beating things together, creating things, putting it all together, I would start to get a little annoyed. I think if I were in a factory and I was working 18-hour days and I'm creating all this just bull BS, just plastic ridiculousness so that Americans can get drunk and throw and catch and have a good old time, I would probably get pretty annoyed. So not only are they working long hours already, they're already physically primed for like the war hours. They might become resentful. I don't even want to put it out into the universe what I'm thinking, what I'm saying, but it's kind of true. It's like all we do is like take a lot of because we've been trained to be consumers. Mm-hmm. And then and they've throughout time pushed their way to take over our, production and, to have subsidies in their government to where they can, legally make make our products for less, so they're undercutting us all this time since the 80s, since they were opened into the World Trade Organization. And like, but the point is like, you have all these things happening, and it's just what happens is, and it's the same thing with Russia. It's just, enough happens to where you just can't even avoid it. War is like, we either have to do something or we can't, but it's, how do you put out the fuse? How do you calm people down? How do you, make it so that we can live peacefully with each other? How can you resolve it? Especially if it's designed to, a lot of the war and government on both sides is in secrecy. It's calculating. It's not, you have to be both receptive, but if you're both receptive, then it's a very, yeah. Anyway, I can go sometimes, but
no, it's a nightmare scenario, but I think there are people out there that can solve the problem. My thing with like the entire world is there's a duality here, right?
Yes.
So in order for a problem to exist, that means the solution also has to exist, mm-hmm. because everything has to be a balance. Mm-hmm. So the problem right now is a big one, but the solution is also out there. Mm-hmm. It's just about finding the solution.
Yeah. I think it's a tough one. We'll see. I mean, I think that, we should be more concerned about AI, apparently.
Well, we were talking about this yesterday. We were talking about the monkeys evolving right now. Like they're like starting to use spears and stuff. Like there are pictures out there. Yeah. So we're saying, so what happens if this is a cycle? Okay. And humanity gets to this certain point that we're at right now, where we're starting to see monkeys evolve. We've created this weapon that can destroy the entire world. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden a war breaks out and we do destroy the entire world. Maybe like 1% of the population survives. Mm-hmm. And this 1% of the population ends up going to these monkeys and kind of like jumpstarts their evolution. Then that 1% ends up dying out because we don't have survival skills anymore. So that 1% actually dies out. And then you have maybe they hand the story of the Bible over to the monkeys before they die. And then you have these monkeys.
A very specific set of circumstances.
Then you have these monkeys that evolve on this world that was destroyed. And they see all these things like pyramids and stuff like that, these structures that are built by a race of people they don't even know what are. So they manufacture this like story of history. And then the same thing happens again. The cycle continues. The monkeys evolve into a race of human beings that then build a weapon that destroys everything as a new group of monkeys evolve.
Well, that would be almost ideal because the life still pushes through.
Right.
What was it? Carl Sagan, who said that either we haven't found life because it doesn't exist, or because life is so difficult to maintain that that all of these races have already exterminated themselves, that we can't even find. And I mean, I think I do think AI is definitely the thing that we should be concerned about, because I don't know. I mean, the idea of the doomsday scenario, it's my favorite. I love Dr. Strangelove. That movie is like, if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. Stanley Kubrick. And it's all about that. It's all about, the doomsday machine and if, they have a bomb that's going to go off,
So where does AI fit into that?
Well, the AI is just more capable than anything it's just so capable. It's in terms of what it can do.
So you think that AI will kill humanity?
I think that I don't know, but that's if it has the ability. That's the thing.
Have you played around with it yet?
No, I actually haven't. Have you done the chat?
Dude, I love it, dude.
Yeah.
The Chat GPT. Yeah.
GPT.
Yeah. And DALL-E 2 is on there. So with Chat GPT, I've been doing some crazy ass shit with Chat GPT.
What have you been doing?
Okay. So one of the things I've been doing was, there's a few guys that I do workouts for. I designed some workouts for them. Go to Chat GPT and I'm like, yo, give me a workout for a man who's in his 60s and he's a golfer and he had 2 knee replacements.
Yeah.
And boom, within 1 minute, a workout.
Cross-checked it with
my own data that I have in my head. And I'm like, this workout's perfect for this guy. So that's within 1 minute right there. And it would take me, a week to do this thing. So another thing I did was I saw this guy that was doing this online. I wanted to try it out, but what he was doing was creating books with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let me see if I can do this. So I go to ChatGPT one night, sitting at the bar here, had all the people around me. Like, what should we make a book about? And let's make a book about the animal kingdom. Okay. So I go to ChatGPT and I'm like, yo, give me a 10-chapter outline of a book about the animal kingdom. So it instantly does it, 10 chapters. And then I say, okay. So then you go back and you say, okay, write chapter 1. And ChatGPT references what it already made and then writes chapter 1. Wow. And then you say, okay, write chapter 2, because there's a character limit. So you can only do 1 chapter at a time. Yeah. But within 5 minutes, I had a 50-page book on the animal kingdom.
Wow.
Like it's incredible what you can do with it. But it's like every tool or every technology that we've ever made it can be used for good and bad. Once again, you have that duality. Mm-hmm. So with the atomic bomb, nuclear energy, atomic bomb.
Yeah.
The duality. With ChatGPT, yes, it can be used to destroy humanity, but it can also be used to push humanity into a new level.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it would, I'm definitely not I would say I'm a pragmatist realist. I definitely am not pessimistic that we are all, it's all bad and that,
Well, if you look back through history, most stuff that we've done has been bad. So yeah.
Well,
I get that.
Yeah. There's definitely, those are high points, but that's because we remember that memory wise. It's like sense. 7 times more likely to remember the trauma. Yeah.
I think one good use case for AI, which hasn't been done yet, and I don't know why it hasn't been, but all these massive bills that goes through Congress, just fucking take those and upload them to ChatGPT and let ChatGPT pull out all the bad stuff. Yeah. Say, okay, if this bill, you take the heading of the bill, right? This bill is supposed to be about this. Then you upload the entire thing and you let AI fish through it and find the stuff that doesn't deal with the heading. It can do that in a minute.
Well, yeah, then you get into its own programmability because whoever is programming it is, might have biases and might.
I've seen some of this stuff about the biases.
Yeah, I have too. It's interesting. I mean, you will have that if it has to, which is really interesting because you would think that it would be the most, analytical, objective viewpoint is not human. It's completely, all right. But it does, it has so
do you know the way the technology actually works?
No, I don't.
Okay. So it's very similar to the way the human brain works, where they have these things called mesh networks.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they assign a weighted value to the mesh networks. Mm-hmm. So I think this is where the certain human views are coming into play here, because the people that are programming can assign a certain weighted value to, for instance, say liberal ideas.
Yes.
So that whenever ChatGPT does respond, it responds in a more of a liberal fashion. So what they have to do is they have to be able to take those weighted ideas out of, or just like make them even across the board. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where we're having an issue right now. Is the human element is always the element that that fucks everything up, because we want to put our own opinions in these things. No, if you're going to do liberal mesh network node liberal, it needs to be 50%. The conservative needs to be 50%. That way you have an unbiased view, but it still knows what those concepts are.
Yeah, this is beyond my pay grade. I think that I was thinking that maybe it would be the fact that it was programmed to analyze like the internet and to, in these basically suck up all the information, do a lot of the, I don't know how it works, but I was just by sheer throwing darts at a board in my mind. I thought, maybe it was analyzing all of the material and that there was just more liberal, stuff out there. And so that it was going, okay, well, according to all of these sources, which outweighs the, conservative sources, that would be, and that seemed plausible, but that makes more sense that it would be weighted. Well, that could be how they do some of them, because I know that some of them are actually connected to the internet, but I know that I think ChatGPT is not connected to the internet. No. What they basically do is they uploaded a shit ton of papers that have been written to ChatGPT and gave it like certain text so they could kind of control what it knows and what it doesn't know. And then they weighted the stuff balanced off of those papers. But I think that, they've released several different bots now. And I'm quite certain some of those probably do operate in that same method that you were talking about, where they just kind of soak up the internet. And that's, because you do have more people, I would say, on social media platforms that tend to sway that way rather than other ways, Yeah, well, and the people who think otherwise are many times, as we saw with Twitter, they're downvoted or not downvoted, but shadow banned or whatever. It's just, I think it's interesting. I don't know. There's a lot. I
love technology. Obviously that's what my degree was in. So when it comes to, when I was IT,
Okay. Yeah.
So when it comes to the technology stuff, it like clicks in my brain.
Okay.
So even like doing things like this, like for some reason it works. And I think it's because that for some reason, that's just the way I went in life.
Yeah. Your brain's has an aptitude for it. Do you ever think that maybe that some, like, if we're talking about God or purpose or fate, I always think of like, did I just wasn't good at math because, of all these factors, trauma and all this stuff, or was it, I'm just not meant for it? Like sometimes I just think, oh no, there's nothing wrong. You just weren't meant to do that. Like you have that, you feel like there's some sort of, this feels right. For some reason, I'm able to understand this and it's helped me in this way, or like. So
that's a good point you bring up, because I do think about these things quite often. And one of the things one of the ways I like to think about it is as let the earth be an organism. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if you take the human body as an organism and you put a virus in the human body responds by creating antibodies, right? Okay, so then it corrects itself, self-correcting machine. I think the earth is the same thing. The earth is a self-correcting machine. So if we think about the earth as an organism and we put these corrupt politicians, we make the earth sick, essentially. what is the earth going to do? It's going to release its antibodies. So the earth releases certain human beings, because if you think about it, we're all just an extension of the energy of earth, right? Okay. So the earth is releasing these extensions of energy, which are the antibodies. And it could be these people that are coming into the world with heavy autism. You know, that's like it's a thing that people deal with right now. But these people that have autism are like fucking geniuses, but they're geniuses in like a certain area. So they don't know how to like socialize and things. But if they could be put in the correct position in this system that we live, they could solve these problems.
Yeah, that was a hell of a way to go with an answer, but it reminds me of like the theory about like homosexual behavior or there's a thought of well, there was enough in these there's a few theories of it. I think I don't know what to believe. I definitely think that people are born gay and that's what it is. And you can either agree with that or not. But some people were surmising that like in the herd, the male, there was already enough alpha males. And so that there needed to be like a somebody to help around the village, but that wasn't, an alpha in a way, even though there are alpha, but the other along that line was, and that's controversial.
All this
and
stuff's
ridiculous. But that one, the other one is that it was like the thought was that gay people, like, because they don't have offspring, that would somehow that we've somehow through unconscious, biological we don't understand why, but we somehow have recognized that and created more homosexual people so that we don't overpopulate the area, the world. It's a weird thought. I don't know if it has any merit, but I am really curious about how we, like you're saying, find our pockets, because we find our pockets. We do find the things. There's people that seem like they're meant, you say to that person, you're going to be a politician one day. Are you, oh my gosh, you're, going to be, you seem perfect here or whatever. Like it's
nowadays, I mean,
are they finding that, or is the world putting them there?
Well, see, I think that's the problem we're in right now is, the politicians that are in their place are there because they're able to be controlled. So if you put someone in power that can't be controlled, they're going to do what's right for the majority of the people. But if you can control someone, and the best way to control human monkeys is by giving them money. That's the best. So we've created a system where the politicians are getting paid by these huge corporate structures, and they're basically voting for whatever the corporations want them to. Yeah. I think there's a book I'm reading right now, and it talks about caste systems. And it says that, there's someone for every position on this planet. And once again, we'll go back to the organism example that I was using. Like there is a person for every spot on this planet right now. They're just not in the right spots. So because we've taken over this caste system, and we started picking and choosing who goes to certain spots rather than letting the collective pick and choose who goes to certain spots. So, we think we have a democracy. We don't really have a democracy. Like your votes mean nothing when you go vote. It's all who the corporate interests want to be in those positions. But if we could go back to letting the collective decide, then I think that our organism Earth would work way better.
Yeah. I mean, I think it works. It seems to work on some level. That is one thing that I agree though, that there's you can feel it. I mean, you can feel how sick some of the world is, but at the same time, I always go to cities and big cities and think there's a million people doing a million different jobs, and somehow there's a seamless, there's accidents and there's things that happen, but there's some sort of equilibrium where I don't know, but yeah, it's weird. It's out there, man.
Right.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. So speaking on the homosexuality stuff, we'll get back onto that right now. I read a book a while back. It's called The Human Zoo. Yeah. I just recently loaned it to AJ. But I recommend that book highly. But one thing it touches on is homosexuality. And they did an experiment, and I forget the years they did the experiment, but what they did in this experiment was they created a utopia for rats. Mm-hmm. And in this rat utopia, they basically gave the rats as much food as they wanted, mm-hmm. and they gave them this like place to live, this controlled place to live. And they noticed that what quickly happened was these like 2 or 3 alpha males were basically the only ones that the females would breed with, mm-hmm. and the females would just preen themselves all day, getting ready for the alpha males. And what happened was the other beta males in this group, they either formed just like male, like commune type situations where they were totally celibate, or they formed homosexual relationships. And this was something they noticed just by, putting them in these controlled situations. And I think that's kind of what we have in certain cities, is we have this same experiment going on where you have these 1 or 2% of males that are mating with all the women. Women are on social media all day, mm-hmm. primping and pruning themselves in the cameras. And then you have these other males that are either taking these like celibate, maybe they don't want to be celibate, but they can't find anyone to have sex with. And then they have homosexual relationships that are popping up out of that.
Well, there was a recent statistic that came out. It was 18 to 29 percent, or 18 to 29 males and females. It's like 66% of males have been single or are single in that age group. And then 33% of women are single in that group. And that would fit your analysis. And I think also that what you're seeing is that testosterone levels or libido has gone down in males because of pornography and internet. And I think, and also food, I think there's a lot of things that are hurting guys right now. There's a great TED talk by Philip Zimbardo, who's he's the guy who did the famous guards and prison inmates
the Stanford experiment.
Yeah,
I fucking love that, dude.
Yeah. A great experiment.
So good.
Interesting. But he does a TED talk about the demise of guys, and it's all about,
endocrine disruptors.
We're just not able, at least, a lot of kids are just gaming and they don't know how to socialize and they don't know all these things. So that would actually, and it would make sense for that. I mean, I love the rat experiment where they gave them cocaine or food, and they just took they like basically killed themselves doing coke. Yeah. I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. I love the idea of a freaking high little like listening to jazz. That was like the one thing they learned was like, it preferred listening to jazz when it was on coke.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was.
That must be why I don't like fucking jazz music, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I don't do cocaine enough.
Yeah. You're missing out, man. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's a whole nother world out there. Yeah. No, the jazz is good, man. You got to listen to, you should just start on Miles Davis.
There's some movie that they did about jazz, right?
Oh, I mean, which one? There's a lot.
It's like a newer one that's like,
Whiplash.
Yeah. Whiplash. I should probably watch that.
That's a really great movie. Yeah. I got into jazz because of my English teacher, Miss Gill. She had great people on the wall, and it was like all these people. It was like Albert Einstein, I remember, and then Miles Davis. And so I was like, and I loved her, and I was like, so who's Miles Davis? And she also had Jimi Hendrix. I love Jimi Hendrix, but at that time, Miles Davis. And he's been really the cornerstone, I think, of all of my jazz listening, but I'm not by any means, a jazz aficionado, but I do know a few things. But you got to listen to like Kind of Blue, or I think Freddie Freelo's are another great one. Blue and Green is a good one, but I remember just there's that depth, talking about like going to those heightened emotions for when you're acting. Mm-hmm. that's the depth of his sorrow that comes through that. It's so good, especially when you're feeling like that. For me, that was always like, it was funny because in college, I always wanted, I was puffed up, trying to be cool. And so I had all these playlists. I love to be the DJ, and then I found that like my friends were listening to like my jazz play, like my sad playlist. They were like, "Oh, dude, this is where it's at. This is," and I was like, "How did you know?" That's like, oh man, that's like where I really am. Yeah, that's funny. That was a good one. That's I still have that playlist, but yeah, maybe I should give it to you. And then you can
do you listen? What are you, Spotify or what?
Yeah, I'm on Spotify.
Yeah, send me the playlist. I'll give you my number after we get off here. What you mentioned a book earlier too? A book your psychiatrist recommended or something?
Oh yeah, it's Psychoanalysis and Religion.
Can you? Do you have the book, physical copy?
Edmund Burke? No, it's not. Yeah.
Do you mind if I borrow that?
Yeah.
I hate reading on digital stuff, but I love reading physical books. Yeah,
I'm physical. I have a.
Yeah, that sounds very like something I would just down my alley.
Yeah, it's a good one. I had a year where I was just, I read, I've always been I've done a lot of therapy, and I've always been fascinated by therapists and how much they know. And I'm fascinated by people. I did a master. I actually was going to not master. I would change my major for like a year to anthropology. But yeah, I love people. I love reading people. I love reading under the surface, trying to figure out what is people are thinking, or the structure of how we, think and socially. But there was a couple books that went along with that. There was Love and Limerence was another one. That one, those are the two main ones, but Love and Limerence is another really good one if you want to think about love, because that's one that it can be a little bit. What they do is she changes the word, so she just calls it limerence, so that we don't even recognize the word as love, because we have so much attached to that we have to disassociate in order to even understand what the sensation is that we call love. I mean. It's
what is limerence? Is something she made up?
Limerence is literally just it's a word she made up just so that you could disassociate from the word love in your discussing of the sensation. Because we don't even know what, if you actually try and pin it down, it's like trying to tell a blind person what, yellow is. It's kind of hard to, people, it's like,
actually, I like that a lot.
What's the, it's like, tell us what it is, Ron. Love. And he's like, it's kind of like started out this morning feeling. It's the afternoon delight. Yeah, in Anchorman. God, I love that movie.
No, I love stepping away from labels. Mm-hmm. So even when you're talking about politics, I hate when people say left, right, Democrat, Republican, because you have your own like biases built up, so you can't really get down to the root of the problems if you're always thinking about, well, this person said he's not on my team anymore.
Yeah.
Now I have preloaded answers. I noticed this a while back when I was having these conversations about politics with people, where what I would do was I have a very like unbiased view on everything. I don't claim to be anything. And I'll have these conversations with people and they won't know how to talk to me. Because even the answers that I give them back they can't read anything into them. Yeah,
they're stuck on their point of view, and if you don't understand, they just don't. Yeah, they don't even know how to. They just are in a some sort of what's it called? The boxes. It's
they're only
what do they call? Well, this is a word for it though. It's a reverb. It's
I know what you're talking about.
You know what I mean? They're just in a void of anything that's not I forget the word. Somebody's gonna watch this and be like, that's what he was saying. But
so the fun thing about those people is once you get them all through all their like built up answers that they're just used to like regurgitating out, then you can actually talk about things. So what I've noticed was after I let them filter out all the shit they want to say about the side that they're not on, because they think that I'm on their side because I haven't said anything that they know is a trigger word.
Yeah.
But once I get through all their like preloaded answers, then we can actually talk.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to get them there. Sometimes they
I'm a good listener.
yeah, people want to be heard. That's for sure. You got to let them hear, before you interject. People need to, and yeah, I don't even get into stuff. Like there was a time where I would get so into, more, I was just going off on stuff, and I would tell people, and then you just realize that the other person just
they're not even listening.
Thinks you're crazy. Yeah. You're just like, no. Oh, well, and then you're just in mud, and
that's why I don't do the arguing thing.
Yeah.
But I do want to understand, because this all blows my mind. Mm-hmm. Every single bit of it blows my mind. I'm like, there's such a divide here that doesn't have to be. Like, none of this has to be divided.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it doesn't. It doesn't, and a lot of these things are, slowly figuring themselves out, and just like the issues that we're seeing. I mean, I'm happy that I'm happy that I'm in a place where, like being like water, just like, I'm not trying to change anybody's
Bruce
opinion.
Lee, man.
You gotta just be yourself and let people be. And honestly, Albert Schweitzer like, example isn't the only form of leadership. It's the only form of leadership, or I forget whatever it was. But yeah, my grandmother used to quote it all the time. But
say it again.
It's I'm not even getting it right.
Okay.
But it's basically example isn't, when it comes to like leadership, example isn't the main thing. It's the only thing.
Oh yeah.
So
lead
like,
by example. Yeah.
So when you're just being like water, like, you just have to hope through osmosis that you're just going to find more people that are going to, listen and just start thinking more about what they're thinking and not judge. And, but it felt like for a while there, like, especially during COVID and stuff like that, there was a lot of like people in the matrix that were so hell bent on believing what they thought to be true. And I was like, no, I think there's more going on here. And they just, no. And then, sure enough, 3 years later, it's like, well, seems like some of it was right. But you get people afraid when they're afraid, and they don't want to, they get scared. They huddle to their beliefs and their security system because it's what makes them feel safe. But they don't realize that it's, people just don't have what it is. People don't have good BS radars.
Right.
Like they're not awake. That's what I think a lot of times when you're talking about like comedians, comedians are awake. They a lot of times that for whatever reason, they've been awakened. And I think it's weird. They say like the shamans, like, it's like the way you become a shaman is you have like a psychic break, like at a young age. And I definitely had that, where I, like, at a young age, and not saying I'm a shaman, but like I definitely had breaks where all of a sudden the matrix that you're in doesn't make sense. It's the same thing that you had with, and you're born that way. It's not, part of it was just like, I don't know why I don't fit into this, but I don't. And I'm looking for some type of way out, or, but then you become the seer. You can actually tell what's going on.
Yeah. The difference with our society and what the shamans do is they actually take those kids that have those psychic breaks and they cultivate them into the shamans. Mm-hmm. Like here, we're like, oh, well, something's wrong with you. Have a pill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the matrix right there. They bring you back down to like a regular docile level of like, I need to go work today.
Yes, I agree 100%. And no, it's preaching to the choir.
Dude, it's been an amazing podcast. I appreciate you coming on. I'll definitely have you on again. The bar is about to open though.
Okay.
The bartender will be here very soon.
All right, perfect timing, because I'm ready for a drink.
Yeah, I get lost in these conversations, man. But I realize this is a business too.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I can talk.
Where can the people find you on social media?
Chance McAdam, or on Instagram or YouTube. I think I have a TikTok too. I have, but yeah, those are the main ones right now. Dope. So yeah,
thanks, brother.
More to come. Yeah, thank you, man, for having me.